You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bombad Generals. It's a guest episode, and
Hey-o.
We're back to tier lists because I just really like them, and it's a good way to talk about different factions. So, for the first in our series, we're looking at all things GAR. So, what better to get one of the premier GAR mains, I would say, Mr. JJ's Juggernaut. JJ, hello.
Hello.
Now,
Howdy, JJ.
you literally don't play anything else, right? It's just GAR all the time,
Yeah,
everywhere.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, question: did you start before GAR came out? Start with Rebels or Empire, or you started when GAR started?
Yeah, I was not playing Legion until Clone Wars was announced, and then that got its hooks into me since I'm a massive fan of the clones specifically. So that got me.
Did you get to play IRL before the pandemic and all that?
Well, it's funny. So at Gen Con that the Clone Wars came out, they had some of, I don't know if it was just early copies or if it was the full release, but they had some of the Clone Wars starter sets there. And I picked one up and I assembled it in my hotel room and then played in the team tournament at Gen Con the next day.
That's
with
awesome.
Just bare plastic. And it was weird 100 or 150 point lists or something really weird.
Oh.
And I had not really played before at all, except for also another funny story. I was actually part of the alpha or beta test for Legion because I had done some playtesting with FFG back for Armada. Star Wars Armada.
Yeah,
So,
former world champ of Armada, for those who are unaware. So,
was in-
accomplished war gamer in the Star Wars realm.
But so I had done just a tiny bit of Legion in the first part of its testing, and then just basically had, not touched it since or been a part of it at all. And then, comes out and here it's doing good, but I was like, I'm not really interested in doing Galactic Civil War factions enough. Still playing Armada at that point a lot, and then there came Clone Wars, and I had to say yes.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Now, what's your tournament? What all tournaments have you been? What's your history of the competitive realm?
So, in-person tournaments, not a ton. I live up in mid to northern Minnesota. The closest location to me is Fargo, North Dakota. So, not a ton, not a massive tournament scene around. But they usually have a store in Fargo that has some store championships. Went to Adepticon, but not for Legion, because it was right as COVID hit, I think, was going to be the first Adepticon that year, and it all got canceled.
Yeah.
So I think I've been to, there was the Gen Con team tournament, went to LVO last year in person for Legion, and I think that's been about it. In person, online, I've done quite a bit, obviously throughout the whole pandemic, and continuing. I've done Invader League since season, I guess whatever season it was when the Clone Wars came out, 7 or, no.
Yeah.
Or 5, maybe? 5, 6,
Five,
something
I
like
think.
that.
Yeah, 5.
I've done a lot of the Legion ladder tournaments on the Discord, and Yavin-based Team League, of course. So.
Groovy.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about records versus each other, and I think that was one of the first times we played, was one of those old Legion ladders. It was a close one from what I recall, but maybe that's just rose-colored glasses. Who knows? So, yeah. Today, when we talk clones, I'd say, as far as, GAR mains go, JJ, Seth, and probably, Mike Dashes, you three, I'd say, are, the three I think of when I think guys who play clones a lot and are, good authorities on how it works. So I'm really happy that you were said yes to coming on.
Well,
now,
you gotta give a shout out to Tim too.
Oh, Tim. Yes, that's a good one.
Yep.
He does. I guess because I've played him a few times when he was running other stuff, so I don't think of him as much as. But yeah, recently it feels like he's been very focused on clones. So there we go.
And doing very well with them.
Yes, yeah, top 4 at LVO, top 8 at Worlds. Yeah, doing good. Now, do we want to pull up the tier list and lay down the ground rules? So we've already done a Jedi tier list. I think that was under the new CRB rules. So it should still be very useful and very accurate. Most recent point changes, but whatever. So we've left the Jedi off of this, which are obviously a big part of GAR. So they might crop up and we might talk a little bit about them. I think especially a lot of these characters are going to be, how do they relate how are they in relation to the Jedi that you're already probably taking? Because do we all agree that you're probably taking at least one Jedi to start your competitive GAR lists these days?
About 95% of the list, probably.
Yeah. So, any
honest,
operatives?
It's probably Anakin.
Yeah. He's good. He's just boring, but he's good. So we'll be ranking on the S through D, standard approach. All commanders and operatives who can go in GAR. So that includes someone like the Pyke Capo, because they are a mercenary commander. We've already done bounty hunter tier lists as well, but GAR doesn't care about that, unfortunately. No one hunting bounties for the Republic.
But we have secret mission.
Secret
We
mission.
do. This is true.
I mean, it's still good. We just had our episode about Gen Con, which was, Yoda Chewie with R2 in there. So he's still making waves. He's just not the 35-point BS machine that he was back in the day.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, well, we'll see, I guess, huh?
He's gotten like a 40% price increase, and he's still
Oh, my
pretty
gosh,
decent.
yeah. He's still really good, yes.
Yeah.
We should just start
since-
off with him.
Okay.
Oh, should
we're
we?
getting
Okay,
into
I
it.
was going to let
Let's
the
just
guests
go.
choose, but we'll go with
okay.
R2. All right, yeah. Let's start with R2, and then JJ, you can pick after that. Seth, where did you land on R2 for a person in GAR? As far as
so
ranking.
I personally landed him in A tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow.
Wow. Oh,
Wow,
it sounds like we have a different.
So there's a couple of characters on this list that I broke out in kind of a split ranking just due to context. I personally hate R2 if there are no vehicles. I will never take him if I have no vehicles. I would put him in D. I would put him in F. Never. With a
There's
vehicle,
another famous GAR player that agrees with you on that. And that's a Dash Mike Berry.
I was thinking, is it me? I kind of agree on that.
I lost an Invader League game. I mean, of course, other things happened. But on the final turn, my last out failed me because R2 gets pulled from the stack out of 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. Like he does every single time.
I was hoping that would just end with I lost an Invader League game. Because, I've lost an Invader League game too. Yeah.
So I think I see your point, JJ, and I think it depends on how you build your list, which most GAR lists right now probably doesn't need R2. R2 is an objective play, so I would say he goes great with Yoda and he goes great with Cody with a vehicle. But Anakin gunline lists, I don't think he deserves a place in that at all.
And where
ahead.
with vehicles, just to get where I think he would be. I put B with vehicles. If you have a vehicle, I think he's around B tier.
Even with a vehicle. I think the prevalence of bounty hurts him, I think for sure.
It's straight.
That's the thing. With vehicles, I think that's the thing. With straight gun lines, he's not going to get across the board, and he's not going to do anything useful at all. He's more expensive than a naked P1 who is going to be able to at least share tokens and be more durable in the objective game if he's not scoring secret mission. But for all other GAR lists, Barks are still very popular. And objectives, and because they open up objective play with things like bombing run, breakthrough, all of that. And R2 leans into that because he's good for objective play and he can heal the Barks if you need to and be cheap. But it does suck to pull him when you need literally anything else. So I can be okay with B.
I still think he's A because whenever you put R2, one, there's a specific reason. If you're playing him correctly, there's a specific reason you're bringing him. And that's because of the end game and to mess with your opponent. Because when I see R2 across the table, I'm like, oh shoot, I have to worry about this. It doesn't it's not about kill points. It's not about, oh, I just need to get one more point. It's like, oh, there's a whole nother objective at play that I need to worry about. Mm-hmm. So like with that, it's like it kind of like if you're playing him correctly, it kind of could mess with your opponent in a good way for you.
What do we think about C-3PO though too? Does that change things? It's expensive.
It's
70 points.
Expensive.
It's expensive.
I think,
but
it
gives him something to do.
With R2 going up in price, 3PO should be like 5-7 points, something like that. And then you see him again, and I think then this changes the whole conversation. Part of the problem too with R2 is he's very easily one-shottable with the dice pools currently. And I've even been doing some just mental thoughts on revisiting with the lower-priced Clone Engineer. It's like for R2's price point, I could get 3 out of 4 repairs that he gives me, and they're shooting bodies and wounds in my clones. That yes, I miss out on secret mission, but I don't have to worry about pulling it out.
But they're not medics.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, well, I guess I could turn those into medics. You could get 3 medics for that cost.
It's tough.
He's very binary. Inconspicuous doesn't help you when you can get one shot so easily. I've been banging the drum of cheaper 3PO for a long time. They can just always go together. That's fine. And then just cost it as such because then he does something else. So I'm happy with B tier. You've talked me into B being fine. He has a place, but you B tier is a good spot of you have to kind of work around it. It's not universally a good choice. Yeah,
adds a crutch to your game a little bit.
Okay. How about next character, JJ? What do you got for us? Who do you want to talk about next?
Well, I mean they kind of go hand in hand in new hotness. Let's go with Commander Cody.
Well, be nice. Be nice. Where are you putting Cody?
I actually have him right in there with R tier and B tier.
Oh.
I think.
Sorry, did I hear D tier? D tier? Yes, I agree. Yeah, sounds good to me.
I think he's solidly situational, situationally good. His command cards, if they were more generalistic, I think he could be A, maybe even S if he had some really fire command cards. But his command cards are just kind of and he's a good unit by himself.
Yeah, if his command hand was completely different and he had a lightsaber, I think I'd put him at S tier as well. But I mean, I think there's just a lot of tension, right? He wants 2 of his command cards require observe, so they need him going first. That means he has to be at range 3, so you can't leverage his range 4 as much. It's just kind of clunky. Direct vehicle is nice, but I don't know.
Well, and every time I play his 3-pip, and it's like I have 3 vehicle orders this turn, and I'm never using them all, and I just feel like I'm wasting stuff, and that kills me from an efficiency perspective. But unless you're running triple bark, which I haven't done with him yet, it seems hard to maximize
I think
him.
That's the way, but also then you're trying to keep them within that range 2 bubble. I definitely would not go the route of I'm going to take an ATRT with comms relay just to turn him into a very expensive clone commander. I was extreme with D tier, but my vote is C tier. So
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you, Matt.
Yeah, that's fair. I can be convinced down on that.
He's not awful, but I think when we look back at GAR generally, is Cody the guy I want standing next to my Jedi? And most of the time, no, that's not it. I would honestly, well, this could maybe transition into the next character. You're building the gun line. Do you put in Cody or do you put in Rex? Even with all the things that have happened to Rex.
Rex. I put
in Rex.
Oh.
Take that Clankers is still decent. It's still decent.
I don't know.
We're not programmed as like 4 orders. Good for.
His one pip is really good.
His one pip's still
Tactical,
decent.
So you can move him forward. Scouting party.
He's much better with the beam, with the I forget what it's called, but the generic
support.
2-pip.
Yeah.
Air support, yeah.
I think it's hard actually because of the fact that Cody's fire support is so much better than Rex's, that makes it tough. You know, if you're running Anakin and you already have the best fire support option in the game as your starter, I'd go Rex for scouting party on a Jedi, real good. But it is hard because Cody does have much more damage potential than Rex, it feels like.
Yeah, I'd say the value of...
I mean, in fire supporting aspect, yes, but like just to charge up his fire support takes so long and takes so much, and because you have to have you want to order on him for his target one, you gotta have an order on someone else. Like,
I mean,
Pierce is a drug though. Piercing fire supports.
lethal.
Yeah.
You pretty much can
lethal.
It's the same thing as like Echo though. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like Echo just kind of does what Cody does, which is kind of put a crit or 2 past cover at long range with the Pierce.
Surge crit's really good on Cody.
But it's 105 points, my man.
It is.
And he's
but I
5 health, and he doesn't bring free tokens. He doesn't bring free tokens.
if he had like native Pierce, I'd agree with you. But you don't get those rerolls because you have to spend it for the lethal.
Spend
maybe
6
get-
points for Hunker.
For
and then
Hunter,
spend more points for tactical or... I don't know,
then you're
officer
looking at
personnel.
120 points.
Yeah, exactly. Just slap on more and more.
Well, so where did
So,
you guys
so where are we
put
putting Rex then?
I put Rex in B tier.
I put him in D tier.
I'd put him in C tier. There we go. We can average out.
So
I think
we'll average out.
because I think there is it is a conversation of Rex versus Cody. I think personally, with depending on the list, there's reasons I would take one or the other, but I think neither are necessarily even that far off. Like they're just maybe a little too expensive still for what they're going to bring you, considering what you're also spending in the rest of your list for clones.
Just bring down aggressive tactics, and they're both a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. 15 points hurts a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because they're the only 2 commanders really bringing it too. So it's like, ugh.
For sure. Who do you want, Seth? We've still got we've taken care of most of the clone commanders.
Let's pause on clones for a second, and let's go with my man Chewbacca, one of my favorite pieces. Oh, I love it.
That's good.
That was really good. Now, here's the question: are we talking about this with in a list with Yoda or by himself? Because
That's
there's
the
2
problem.
totally different things with Chewbacca.
That's the problem.
This
yeah.
was the second character I was talking about that I had kind of a split ranking.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a split. Yeah. Tell us about that,
C
JJ.
and S tier. Yeah.
So, I think with Yoda, I think he's an A. I don't actually put him in S tier because
I'd agree with that.
I think there's still the debate between Chewie or a clone commander when it comes to Yoda, and that's real heavy.
Yeah. Depending what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And without Yoda, I think Chewie is down in C tier. He's an okay piece. 9 health is great, and his surging white saves, he's fairly durable, but I've never run him in a list without Yoda, personally.
In a world where he just doesn't really have a place without Yoda. There's other people on this list who just make more sense at that price point if you're not giving him, if he's not there to be a backpack for Yoda. And he's not the main shining star in that equation. That's Yoda. He's just a delivery system. So
And the commander
averaging
slot
out at B.
It's so competitive on the commander slot.
Oh, it is. It is.
If he was an operative, I think he'd see a lot more play.
Oh, and then could Guardian
wish.
2 commanders for sure.
Oh
For sure.
man, my old
Yeah.
Anakin Chewie list would be rocking.
Yeah, I think there's a world not too far away where that's kind of fine, but it's just not what you need these days. The direct is just much more valuable, or ploy. with Anakin, depending how you're building it out.
So I just put him in B tier, just like middle,
yeah.
between A, and C, like.
So I guess status check-in on where we've settled for all of our audio-only people. R2 and Chewie holding down the B tier, and Rex and Cody in the C tier. GAR having some struggles here without their Jedi, but they got two of the highest ranked Force users, so it's all
Yeah,
balancing
that's the
out
great
here.
thing about GAR is that their Jedi are like the best Force users in the game. Like,
Yeah, because they don't have deflect. Yeah, that's why.
and they don't rely on Force choke now, so.
Yeah. How about we do the other Wookiee? Because I'm really interested where you guys are going to put the Chieftain. The Chieftain, they just feel like they're part of a bygone era because they work with Wookiees. Chieftain Chewie is fun. It's a big wound sponge. He was much better with Vigilant he liked Vigilance, Tenacity, and offensive push.
Yep.
And
Yep.
all of those have gone way up.
Yeah.
And Scale got trashed. But like he rolls, it's like Obi-Wan's lightsaber. He's got two red, two black, two white, which is not like a great, but he's got duelist. Like if you're using offensive push, that's an aim, pierce one. Like it's not bad. He's got impact and pierce on his bowcaster. But I don't know. Is D tier too harsh, or
No.
do we put him in C tier?
I have him in D. He's down in the dumps. The big kicker for me is 7 health on a white save commander. Even though he surges, it's just not enough. He can get
Yeah,
1 or 2 shot from a big dice pool. And yeah.
Yeah,
All the
even
nerfs
with
just
agile,
Stacked
it's not
up.
enough.
Yeah. Scale, all the training's going up. It's because he's so anemic without them. Like that dice pool without an aim is so bad.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially with no sharpshooter. Like, oh.
Yeah, with no aim and no tenacity.
And no critical. Like, that's the big thing, is they only surges to hit.
Yep.
That is true as well. Yeah. And you're looking at what's his base cost these days?
100.
Is it still
100.
100? Yeah. So you're looking at, once you factor in the other upgrades, you're looking at 124 if you're kitting him out the same way with Vigilance, Tenacity, Opush, and then Recon, probably
Yep,
to
Recon.
yeah
Yeah.
That's like Boba Fett territory, and it's
Boba,
unfair. It's unfair to compare.
Boba Fett will
but-
two-shot your Wookiee commander, your
Yeah.
chieftain, and get bounty. That's what will happen.
He'll take his bounty and say thank you very much, and add it to his collection of Wookiee pelts that he's got. Yeah.
If you're lucky, you might do like 1 wound in return to Boba.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so a bit of a downer, but hopefully that means I think we're filling out the bottom of the bracket so that we can end on a high note. JJ, who do you want to go to next?
I mean, I'm the clone guy, so we're picking back up with the clone commander. And yes,
Ooh,
hands down.
Seth just put him in S. Yeah,
S
I
tier.
agree.
It's hands down S tier.
Yeah.
Probably
Still
the
so
only,
good.
Yeah. The only S tier that's in GAR, in my opinion, that's not a Jedi.
Yeah, I would
He
agree
pairs
with
with
that.
everyone,
Yeah.
and he's cheap, and he gives out surges. That's pretty nice.
Yep.
And direct.
Yep, direct. Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the clone commander is in a great spot. I still don't like the fact that 5s is so expensive. I think the 5s part of the combo is what makes me a little unhappy, because ideally I would like to be able to fit both of them, but it's so hard
yeah.
to even fit that in points wise.
I think
To justify
5s kills aggressive tactics almost is what that part of the equation, because you just can't get enough orders out to make aggressive tactics worth it.
Yep.
Versus if all you're trying to do is fire support, the one order you get from direct is usually enough anyways, for 5 or for Echo to shoot into, or for Anakin, what have you. Like, if that's what you're looking for, great. 5s, it would be nice to get even more, to get like more tokens on the board, but is what it is.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely agree.
yeah. And
Yep.
he's a clone, so he can just also, in addition to bolstering, he can just take an aim, and he's effectively got spotter too in that scenario.
Yep.
It's good.
Yes. So most of my clone lists, I always have both the commander slots filled up, And I always am asking, if I don't have them in the list, why? I always ask, why am I not taking the Clone Commander?
It's because you have Yoda and Chewie, Seth. This
Well,
is
yes,
pretty
like
obvious.
I would say, like, as if you're most GAR lists, like, should have both the commander slots taken up,
Yep.
and that second one, 90% of the time should be the Clone Commander.
Basic P1 is 52 points. Clone Commander is 60 points.
Yeah.
That eight points you're paying, well worth it.
It's worth it.
Now, I'm interested to hear JJ's thought. We recently had our episode on command upgrades, and we were talking about a few. I was hyping up Inspiring Presence. I like it as a call on the Clone Commander, in addition to improv.
You
but-
mean commanding presence?
Oh, yes. No, sorry. No. I just thought the word inspire. No, that was my least favorite. And thought inspiring presence. No, lead by example. The one that gives inspire
Oh,
to.
yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. Very different card.
Yes.
Good catch, Seth. What are you filling that command slot on the Clone Commander? And if so, what are you putting into it usually?
I'd say usually it ends up blank for me, based on everything else in the army, really tying up those points. And you can usually find a better spot. The upgrades on him start to feel a little bit like a luxury.
Yeah.
I tend
That's
really
fair.
have just dealt with suppression, either via fire supports or whatever, what have you. It can be an issue sometimes, of course. There've definitely been games where I'm like, my phase 1 is now suppressed, oh no. But I also don't generally have enough order control for the Clone Commander to... I feel like with Inspire on him, it would be so random when it would come up, it might not actually be useful. But if I have the points, especially if we're going back to an R2 conversation, improv orders is always a nice upgrade.
Yeah, it's tough because you kind of want to pull the Clone Commander kind of early to get those surges out.
Yep.
And Inspiring Presence, Inspire, you want that keyword kill later in the round. So
Yeah, I think of it more not necessarily as a way to help. Hey, this guy just got suppressed, now I'm going to clear some suppression. More like, hey, this unit got pummeled last turn with, like, a mortar shot and, a T-21B shot. They're on 3 suppression. I don't want them to be on 1 action for the rest of the game, right? So I'm just going to help give them a jump start kind of thing. But that is a luxury for 8 points, for sure.
yeah.
I like it. But yeah, improv, that was both of our favorites. It's so good. It's always a great call.
Improv's so good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, if you're running bikes, also very, very good call. I'd say almost more important if you're running bikes.
Yep.
Bolsters are real good. Especially
real
with
good.
a lot of phase 1s out there.
Oh, yeah.
And with Exemplar, and that surge can go anywhere.
Well, speaking of Exemplar,
Hey!
let's go to Padmé Amidala.
Nice.
Matt, where'd you put her?
Ooh. This was a tough one. I would say Padmé, I think she's still good, but I would put her in B. Just because at that 85 point cost point, she's basically competing with a kitted out P1 or like a P2 with the heavy, right? Because the medic Z6 phase 1 clone trooper is 89 points and Padmé is 85. And the token generation is nice, especially, getting more exemplar surges in there. But at the end of the day, with clones and how tight points can be, if I put her in the list, usually I'm looking at it and saying, where are my guns? How can I put more guns in here?
Yep.
She has an okay gun. It's a good fire support starter, especially if you use the range 3 option, because she's got sharpshooter 2 native pierce. But again, I feel like a lot of times you can look at so many things in GAR and be like, this is a good fire support starter. Anakin saber throw, Padmé's gun, Barks, Echo, and you just run out of like things to actually fire support.
Yep.
So not everything can get value from being a good fire support starter. I think her best value is in Yoda lists because those can struggle with having surge generation. And usually turn 1, you don't really have a card from Yoda you need to play, so you can play her 3-pip, give her a reliable 1, and that kind of helps. But she feels like a bit of a luxury to me. Too much in that to go into A tier, as much as I want to be controversial and spicy.
I agree. I mean, that's exactly where I had put her, was in B tier. I think she's competing against Anakin. Anakin is just straight up doing what she does, but better. And having her with Anakin is just overkill. So I think, like you say, Yoda's an option. Hard to fit her with points sometimes, in a Yoda list especially. But I think her best place right now is with non-Jedi, which is not great. So that drops her down a bit. If the other clone-only lists were better, I think she could creep up into A, but as is, B seems about right.
Yeah, because she can't be... She's not a Jedi deterrent like she used to be. Before, you could at least be like, hey, I'll share a standby, and that's kind of my counter Jedi tech. And now, an extra aim or dodge is not ending a Jedi. They're not going to be sad about that.
Yep.
Yeah. Seth, do you agree?
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
B tier. I think you would take most of the time take her over R2, like I would.
Really?
I think so.
In a gun line, yes.
In a gun line, I mean,
she does
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not really divulging her 3-pip. You're not bringing her a secret mission. I think I've seen that like once. Like, it's just, you want that reliable, and you want her more in your backlines, like supporting your army.
If you could, the problem with the divulge is you have to do it before deployment, which is good. It would be kind of crazy if you could do it later, but you just have to make the decision too early, and then she's way too expensive to be going off on a road trip on her own to score a victory point.
Yep.
And of course, go ahead.
It's a very situational card that more than often is just the one you cut because you already have 2 commanders and so many command card options.
Her 2-pip, though, speaking of command cards, is really good.
Yeah.
It's bring stuff in the objective game, because it's No Time for Sorrows, and or My Allies the Force, and or another completely different card, which is its own thing. We talked too in our training upgrade episode about Seize the Initiative with authoritative and kind of impromptu. Maybe if you can't afford a clone commander or whatever, don't have space, it's an impromptu order for a fire support.
Yep.
So, like, she does bring good things, but yeah.
If only it wasn't a 2-pip. Because
Yep.
apparently every good card in GAR is a 2-pip.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, including in 501st. They gave us a 1-pip that's a 2, or 2-pip that's a 1-pip. And what better way to end off our GAR tier list than with
a non-GAR
unit with the Pyke Capo? Is it controversial to say A tier for the Pyke Capo?
Not for
That's
me.
where I put him.
Me too.
Pikes, not necessarily because he's good, but Pikes are so good in GAR.
I mean, you're
They're
only
so good.
taking him if you have Pikes, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why not? They're basically a 6-man Pyke squad is a little bit cheaper than a 6-man P1 squad. So why not?
Especially with Anakin, it's hard to pass up Pikes. I haven't been doing it lately just because, like you initiated with Anakin, it's boring. But it's good.
Well, I think they've taken a step back because of all the dice pools and such. Like, just with so much, like Dark Troopers especially, Blast, and just huge dice pools. The strength of Pikes is maybe not as good as just having more surging red saves and medics, but they're still really good.
That's so funny because like this time last year, Pikes had like huge dice pools, like considered.
Oh no, they have
They
good
still
dice
have-
pools,
yeah.
but their defenses can be overwhelmed
sure.
by huge dice pools. They're
Yeah.
great against chip damage. They are so hard to take down against chip damage.
And Pikes are
Employ.
another... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, Employ just takes Anakin's
Flock card out.
flock card and says, "Yeah, it doesn't really affect me. I'm sad I lost to defend, but oh well." It's so good.
And I think Pikes are another time when you consider Padmé as well, just because
Yeah.
of that extra sharing on top of them. That's probably the only time I think Padmé is worth it with Anakin right now, is if you have
Yeah.
Pikes.
Well,
I'd agree.
and again, you don't have the clone commander, so now if you want an Anakin saber throw on his 1-pip, You've got Seize the Initiative right there for you.
Yep.
Saber
it
throw
all
with the
goes
fire
together so
support.
nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saber throw fire support. Now, JJ, you didn't get a chance to talk and weigh in on Jedi, but we'll give you your chance now. Anything you want to say about Yoda, Anakin, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, the other guy that we've definitely talked about so much today?
Yeah. So, Anakin, S tier, easily, probably the best Jedi in the game. I think.
Sad but
everyone
true,
agrees
probably.
on that.
Yeah.
Yoda, I think, is more A tier. He's just because he's difficult to use. He's more of a really finesse piece that there's just so many options, so many things he can do that to really get the most out of him, it's a little bit trickier. So I don't think he's just like throw him in the list and you're gonna do great type of deal. So that's why I think he's more A tier. And then Obi-Wan makes me very sad because I loved the whole Guardian on your clones. You have a Jedi protecting your clones, and now we just have Boyle to do it better and not take wounds off of your 170 point Jedi. Obi-Wan's offense is anemic, and he has to choose between situational, protector, and tenacity, and he really wants all of them, but in reality, I think if he had 2 training slots and you could pick 2 out of the 3, you'd at least get to make some better builds on him, but he's just in a real sad spot.
It's tough.
Poor Obi.
I mean, if High Velocity comes back in abundance, which at one point it seemed like, his stock goes up a little, but not enough.
Just take
Anakin
Boyle.
just does what he does better.
Yeah.
Anakin protects his clones better by giving them free surges every round.
Yep. Just take Boyle, soak those Pierce hits on your rocket squad or your naked squad.
Yeah.
For sure.
We should start a campaign of buff Obi-Wan or something.
Buff
'cause
Obi-Wan? I'm down with that.
He needs to, because every time like him and Anakin fight, he pretty much like kicks his
Yeah,
butt.
right?
Like
I would say just don't Google buff Obi-Wan with safe search off, because that will lead you down a dark path that I can follow. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I enjoy it, but hey, yeah. It might not be for everyone.
Part of
Yeah.
me wouldn't mind if Obi-Wan was just dirt cheap. If maybe they did nothing else to him but made him dirt cheap, which seems most likely from what AMG has been doing from
that's
balance
sad.
perspective. Because I would love to take Anakin and Obi-Wan together. To me, that is one of the most thematic pairings.
oh yeah.
But we just don't see it. It's too expensive for both of them for what Obi-Wan brings.
It's true.
Yeah. I feel like I had another solution, but I can't remember what it was. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh yeah, we talked a little bit about playtesting earlier, because that reminds me. I believe, hopefully, we can cut this out if it's still not, if it goes down by the time we post this. But they are taking playtester applications.
They are
AMG,
up until the end of August.
Oh, there you go. So anyone listening who says, "Hey, that's what I want to do," like, be aware, it takes time, and some of your Legion practice is going to turn into playtesting, which is a good service and awesome to anyone who wants to do it. So, yeah, if you guys want to take our great ideas and actually bring them to
Implement
fruition,
them in the game. Do it.
Exactly. We'll tell you
try to.
exactly how to fix everything. Yeah. Make Obi-Wan cheaper. I think my ideas involved give him 7 health, give him a little bit of that love.
That would help for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of at the point where it's like it's not necessarily nerf anything, but it's like let's give some love to some other units.
Yeah.
Pathfinders, please. Pathfinders. Rogue One Battle Force. I love the models. I love them in lore. Anyways. JJ, anything else you want to leave us with? Any plugs? Any soapboxes that are safe to air?
I wasn't prepared. My notes. No. I mean, I am a part of Team Relentless, I guess. Plug Team Relentless. Yay. That doesn't mean much because there's not a whole lot we're doing at the moment, but...
Did you guys play in YBTL this past season?
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
I may or may not want to answer that question based on our performance.
Okay.
Yes.
We
It's
finished
okay,
second.
I'll
just saying. Yeah.
publicly blame Eternal RMG for running Grievous.
I thought he won most of his
He did,
games
he
with,
did. He was
yeah,
pretty good.
with General Grievous. Yeah.
But he brought the overall morale of the team just down, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Former guest of this show as well. We will not smear the name of Eternal. RMG.
No, he's a
He
great
was-
guy.
He was
great
great,
guy.
great to have on the team this year. So just like giving him a hard time.
Good. As you should, yes. Awesome. Well, if anyone's listening, apply for playtesting. You run a clone commander and stay Gungan.
This has been the Bombad Generals.
Listening to Bombad Generals is not scientifically proven to make you a better Legion player. Side effects may include bad dice rolls, missed triggers, aim losses, bankruptcy, divorce, vomiting, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if Bombad Generals is right for you.